Got the passenger side fuel return done for now, I guess. I still don't love how these things run, but you know, I don't know. The OEM kit is only $100, and in retrospect, I should have done that. One thing I'm probably gonna do, maybe down the road, is I have this 1/8" NPT bulkhead, and I was thinking I could make a little bracket back there so that everything just goes back towards the rear of the motor. But for the time being, what I did is 1/8 to 5/16 barb, just P-clipped onto factory engine hardware. Now this is where the factory fuel bowl filter setup would have gone, and as you can see, it's obviously not there. I do have the Cummins filter head that I plan on running, and I might just stick it right here for the simple sake of there's room to do it, and there's also enough spots on the valve cover to make bracket pretty easily. If that does happen, obviously this is going to have to get moved somewhere else, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So now we're going to get back to working on the cooling stack. So one of the parts I'm going to have to steal off of this thing is the fan. And now that I think about it, I wonder if the clutch might be the same too. But anyway, on LBZs, the fan is a very large diameter fan, and it's too big to fit on a 90s truck without trimming it, or I guess running a big ass body lift. But I have this fan, which was part of the Heath cooling upgrade kit that I did, and supposedly it's an LB7 fan, which is much closer to what I'll be able to fit. It still might require some trimming, but hopefully a lot less. So we're gonna separate it from the clutch, and then I'm gonna show you guys the clutch that's going on the motor. So like I was saying, LBZs have a real big cooling system, and one of my concerns going to the smaller radiator, out of necessity for the chassis, was to reduce cooling power. So I bought this, did some research on it. It's a GM clutch, and I believe this is for like a Kodiak, Top Kick, whatever LBZ application. It's a pretty fucking massive clutch. So apparently that's just heavy duty. It kicks on at a lower RPM, or a lower temperature, I meant to say. And supposedly it's really good. So I'm thinking that my fan will bolt right up. So I'm gonna go split the fan from the clutch and throw it on that. So with the help of Zach's air hammer and removal tool, I was able to zip the old clutch and the fan off the 6.5. And now I can separate that and then put that fan on the new clutch, and then hopefully throw that on the motor. New tool day last week, M12 fuel ratchet. Pretty excited about that. Let's get back to it. And just like that, we got a fan in our clutch installed. I should go get the, I think I still have the LBZ one up at the house, just to show the size difference. The issue, like I said before, is just clearance against the fan shroud. And you can see that this fan looks proportional to the frame, but I think it does look a little bit small on the engine. But hopefully this fits without any trimming necessary, because I think it's already kind of small as it is. But on to the next step. So next thing we're going to look at is the cooling stack. So one thing that I was looking at before was this hot side charge pipe and how it fits, or my concern was that it wouldn't fit against the brake master cylinder, and much to my surprise, it actually fits like pretty comfortably. So that was really cool. What we're gonna do, my plan anyway, is the 6.5 core support with the LB7 LLY radiator intercooler combo. I'm gonna put the radiator in the factory location on the back side of the core, and then put the intercooler on the front. That's the plan. So let's see if we can get something mocked up here. this point, I'm gonna need to retain the power steering cooler. Obviously I'm gonna need to retain the AC condenser, but I wanna just kind of get an idea of how everything's gonna sit in this core and just get a better understanding of what cutting is gonna be needed, because I'm sure there's gonna be some cutting involved. So I guess we'll take it from there. Okay, so this is where we're at. Couple just kind of ramble here for a minute. So the radiator and the intercooler are designed to be one unit, so they actually hook together. And because of that, the design on the core support is like wide open. The other thing that it does is it puts the hood latch in front of the AC condenser, as does this one, but it does so while allowing the intercooler and the radiator to be together and still maintain proper distance from the fan. Which it doesn't help that I use this oversized clutch, but you know, it is what it is. So basically, I would have to run something in front of this intermediate section in order to like allow those two to be together, maintain proper distance to the clutch and everything like that. So like one option would be ditch this support, build a little down to the hood latch mechanism, and then go find like a second gen intercooler that would be short enough to clear that and stuff. But I really want to try and do this with as much factory GM stuff as possible. So then I was like, well, you know, what if we, you know, just like run the intercooler where the radiator was and then run the radiator with that. And basically that would mean I wouldn't be able to service the serpentine belt without pulling the radiator and the intercooler, which would really suck. So I don't really love that option either. But it is an option nonetheless. The other thing to consider is those are like 22.5 inches tall together, which would put them like a couple inches above the core support, which I guess kind of works because I had to space the shroud up anyway for fan clearance. So just kind of kicking some ideas around in my head and wanted to share with everyone in case anyone who's watching is doing a similar swap. So I'm gonna see what I can come up with. So I think the plan is just gonna start cutting and just gonna run the 6.5 condenser, see if there's anything we can do to move it forward, and just make sure we can smush that radiator intercooler combo as far forward as possible, and then whatever room we're left with, it is what it is. I don't expect to be able to remove the fan clutch without taking part of the cooling stack out, but I would like to be able to change the belt. So as long as I got room for that, I think I'll be happy. Okay, so we're getting somewhere. Cut the shit out of the core, which is cool. So you can see you got fitment there. And we got fitment there. It's leaning against the clutch, but it's also nothing's really mounted for real. So I think the next move, couple things, is I got to bring this line out so that this can really tuck up tight. Got to do that on both sides because you can see the angle of the core support to the intercooler. The intercooler's rocked back a little bit. So that's nice and simple. And then the other thing we got to do is the intercooler. It's actually pretty cool how it mounts. So the intercooler is actually the only thing attached to the truck. And has these like bosses that go down into the bottom of the core support. So I need to drill or cut holes there so that it can go all the way down, which should help the rise level or relative to this, which is also going to be important to make sure that the hood can shut, obviously. So we got to do that. The lower shroud doesn't, I don't even know if it fits, to be honest with you. And if it does, it's going to be super tight. So don't know about that, but we're getting somewhere. This should allow me to run the factory condenser, which this truck, the air conditioning has never worked in it. I wonder why. So that's cool, because I was thinking about dropping the dash and doing the evap core, and now, you know, it's insignificant right now, but just something that can potentially be not done at this time. So it looks like we got some more cutting to do to the core. We did, what side is it? Yeah, this side has some rot, but I think we're gonna be able to work with it. So once we get this in, then we can start figuring out plumbing. I have a factory lower radiator hose for the LBZ. This is the weird like slip quick connect thing that they use, but I'm thinking that I can get away with disconnecting it here and just using this coupler and maybe sleeve it down. Yeah, definitely gonna have to sleeve it down. Or the other thing I could do is split it here and then use the 6.5 lower hose from there. So, whoops, finger in the camera. Rookie move, Huey, rookie move. Enough babbling, more work. So I brought that line out, and now we've got good fitment. We just gotta figure out the up and down part. It's like I showed you before, they got these two bosses. Fortunately, I have a second intercooler from years ago that when I was thinking about intercooling the 6.5. And this one I already cut the tabs off of, so I'm gonna cut these tabs off as well. That way, if it doesn't work, I still have this one. On the bottom of the core support are two of these little rubber support things that the radiator sits in. And I'm thinking, instead of utilizing those tabs, I will just use those factory bushing things. So I'm gonna cut the tabs off of that, rip this cooling stack out, drop that down, and see what kind of fitment we get. All right, so we're just gonna sum this up, I think, because I think this video, if my mental math is correct, is probably long enough, and there's no sense in making it too long, so I'll just make 2 videos out of it. This is where we are at with the cooling stack. So you can see trimmed, and then there's a lot of cutting down there as well by the body bolts. Trimmed and then brought out. So currently it's resting on the clutch. When you rock it forward, there's like, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch or so between the radiator and the fan clutch. So one thing that's gonna have to happen is I'm gonna have to hang a fender because it's gonna tell me more accurately where the core support's gonna wind up. And then that'll tell me what I need to do from there. The mounting strategy of using these little bushings, I don't think is gonna work because it's easier to see it on this side. You can see that the radiator is actually resting on the core support. Let me get it to focus here. And it's actually, the spacing does not work with those bushings. So I just got to figure out what my plan is there. So that's something to consider. I dug out my radiator retaining brackets, whatever these are called, and I'm gonna need to extend them so that they can grab the intercooler. So that's something to do. I think I'm also gonna have to shorten the oil fill tube because this is all gonna be real tight on the hood, I think. So there's a chance that a bunch of the hood is gonna get cut out. So good thing it's from China, good thing it's replaceable, and good thing it's a cowl. So that's where we're at. And then, like I said before, this will allow me to retain factory cooling in the front, like for the AC condenser or the power steering cooler, stuff like that. And hopefully it's not gonna affect headlights or anything like that as well. So there we go. More work in the books and plenty more ahead.